we are going to break down the one mental ability that pro elite golfers utilize to be able to gain a competitive edge. Now, they actually utilize 4 secret strategies to be able to train and build this one mental ability. Now, as a therapist, I had to break this down and psychoanalyze it. The Full Swing documentary and the Masters that just happened this past weekend, I was like, oh, this is the core of golf. This is the core mentality of golf. So this is what separates the elite golfers from the non-elite pro golfers. And in fact, all these 4 different strategies really intertwine with one another. The last one is really arguably the most important. Now, while I am a licensed therapist, this video is for informational and educational purposes only. If you do need a licensed therapist, please do find one inside your local area. Let's dive right into things with the one mental ability is actually embracing the pressure.
Definitely going to be a lot of pressure, and that's kind of the fun part.
Embrace all the nerves and all the excitement that I feel.
I wanted to address everything that I was feeling in the moment.
Whenever I feel like I feed into the crowd, focus more. I don't know. It's a fun thing.
I was nervous. I feel like the double bogey at the first sort of settled my nerves.
It all starts with cognitive behavioral techniques, specifically cognitive reframing and cognitive restructuring. So let's talk about the fundamental aspect when it comes to cognitive behavioral techniques. It starts with a triangle. Your triangle is this. There is your thoughts then impact your feelings, and those feelings then impact your behaviors. What's fascinating about this is, because if you have a thought of, wow, this is a whole lot of pressure, then the feeling becomes, well, this is really, really overwhelming. I'm having a lot of anxiety here. And it actually translates into the behavior, which translates into how you actually end up hitting the ball. And for the elite golfer's case is, then you get the jerks, then you get the shakes, then you get the nervousness, the actual physical nervousness. And when you have the shakes, when you actually hit and swing the golf club, then it actually translates into shank shots. It translates into hitting too far, hitting too short. All these things are all intertwined. The thoughts, feelings, behaviors are intertwined, as well as all these different strategies are intertwined. So cognitive reframing is just taking that thought process, accepting that thought process, and reframing that into something that is more constructive and productive.
After scoring, Harry and I were walking to the golf cart to bring us back to the 18th tee. He said to me, well, pal, we would have taken this on Monday morning, being a playoff at the start of the week. That sort of reframed it a little bit for me.
And so what Ludwig and what Scotty and what Bryson actually end up talking about here is taking that thought process of, this is a lot of pressure. And actually, I love this.
How do you keep from thinking about how big this is and just kind of staying in the moment?
Yeah, I think about it all the time, and I'm okay with thinking about that. I don't think you should shy away from it. I don't think you should try to push it away. I try to embrace it, and I try to be okay with all that comes with it, I guess.
Because when you actually reframe that thought process, the feeling then becomes excitement. The feeling then becomes joy. You still have that bit of neurological arousal, but that is actually needed for focus. We'll talk about that later on. But then the behavior then becomes more relaxed. So if you actually end up embracing things and embracing things coming to them, the behavior actually becomes relaxed. And then when they're more relaxed, and then when they actually take their swings, when they actually take their shots, it's exactly how they want it to be able to be. That is cognitive reframing. And really, it's specifically the strategy is a lot of self-talk.
I believe in positive self-talk. I really wanted to feel everything.
And through self-talk, eventually the brain ends up rewiring itself to then think about this type of stimulation as welcoming and fun and exciting. It takes time, but that's actually how they end up building it. The second strategy is Rory actually talked a bit about cognitive reconstructuring.
As the years have went on, I've just become more accustomed to the noise that sort of surrounds my whole Masters week, and I've become a little more comfortable with it.
So again, more evidence that when the big stage is there, I can kind of bring my game and still compete with the best players in the world.
So it is taking the thought process that, wow, I'm really nervous. This is really nerve-wracking. And then restructuring that thought process into, you know what? Past evidence is a really big one here. Past evidence, how did I handle this? Well, actually, you know what? I've been through enough different experiences that actually can handle this pressure. I actually can get more and more comfortable with this pressure. So actually my past experiences help my future endeavors, which is incredibly important. Then also at the same time, especially after hitting that double bogey, it's the thought process of, okay, other players were able to do the same thing I just did and come out of it and do okay. So based on that actual concrete evidence, I can settle in.
It's funny, walking to the second tee, the first thing that popped into my head was John Rahm a couple of years ago making double and going on to win.
And so the second aspect of being able to embrace the pressure actually has to do with the very specific research around confidence when it talks about process versus the outcome, which is exactly what Wyndham Clark mentions here. It's fascinating.
You're feeling a little bit more anxious than normal.
I always go back to process, the actual doing of it rather than the outcome. You know, for me lately, I have gotten a little too much into outcome focus, and recently we switched it back to the process, and I started playing good golf.
Specifically for the sport of golf, this relates a lot and is an extremely important, and for Wyndham Clark, as he explains, played a major role in his ability to actually be able to perform. So I have to understand confidence as a foundation level first, and we'll break down the strategies, because once you understand the foundation, then all the different strategies actually do make sense. So, because you might be thinking, how can confidence really impact the ability to be able to play? So confidence is a mind and body connection. When the mind is confident, what happens is it tells the body, hey, we need to be able to swing like this. The body is confident too. The body swings like this. When the mind is not confident, that's when it starts to be able to second guess itself. Then it's, hey, I know I need to hit the ball like this, but then actually, are my feet here what it should be? What happens here? Would I hit into the water? And that ends up creating jerky motions or shanks or not full hits or all these different fundamental mechanical problems that actually end up impacting the ball in the physical sense. The mind is connected to the body. So on the outcome side of things, there's something called outcome confidence. The ability and belief that you can actually win at the overall game. And why that is so critical and so important to golf is the way that golf is fundamentally set up, especially tournaments. So tournaments happen over the course of days. And you hit 70 shots, 68, 72 shots every single round. And if someone is really focused on the outcome, can be very detrimental. Because if they're only on shot 15 for that round, and you have 55 other shots to hit, but you're focused on, what I'm going to hit 30 shots from now, what I'm going to hit 20 shots from now, what I'm going to hit 5 shots from now. Like, I'm really worried about the pressure of what the crowd's going to say. Like, if the pressure of me being 2 back, then I might fall 3 back, then I might fall 5 back. If you're so focused on the outcome of things, that takes you away from what you need to be actually doing inside the moment. So the ball might be here and really should be taking a defensive shot, but if you're focused on 30 shots down from now, that's problematic, because then you push the ball, then ends up being inside the rough, ends up inside the water, worst case scenario, or ends up inside the bunker. So the outcome, confidence, can really be detrimental to the actual physical aspect of the play. And so the strategy for that, understanding the foundation of that, the strategy then becomes process confidence. Having confidence in the process of doing things, and really can start way beforehand. The process of actual training. Did I train? The process of actually understanding and studying the golf course, the process of eating correctly, the process of sleeping correctly, then helps the process of actually hitting the ball. Having that confidence of the process that you did to be able to get to where you are brings a peace of mind. It also brings it to be more in the present moment. We'll talk about that in a second really quick, because it's a little bit of foreshadowing here. That's the strategy to be able to get rid of the outcome confidence and focus your confidence on something else. If a player says, hey, I play based on how my confidence is, and my confidence is outcome, it should be I play based on how my confidence is. My confidence is having confidence in the process and my ability to be able to do things. The second way to be able to do it is actually using past experiences.
And I think knowing that I've already pulled it off once before is definitely comforting.
100%. So I took a lot of confidence from it.
What can happen on the final day here? So I've got a lot of experience.
So when all the pressure hits, and be able to embrace the pressure, it's, one, yes, embracing the process of happening inside the moment, and that's cool, switching it to that, way more manageable. But then 2, embracing the fact that, hey, all these different experiences I have actually prepare me for the moment, and this moment that I am right now. I know I've been 2 back before. I've been able to catch up. I know I've been 4 back before. I've been able to catch up. I know I had a bad round yesterday, but I know I was able to turn that around the very next day. So since I know that, I don't put confidence in this process. My process of me being all my different past experiences impacting my future endeavors.
The sort of cumulative experience that I've gained, I feel like I get a little more comfortable with the shots needed.
So that actually leads into a really important aspect for the third one, which actually happens to be focus.
At Augusta, you're never going to win it the first day, but you can lose it the first day. You have to focus on the shot in front of you.
It's such a battle in your head of just trying to stay in the present moment.
Feeling like you have to hit every single shot to the best of your ability, and
enjoy your accomplishments and the things you do the right way. You're gonna make sure the boys focus on the fact that we're back to 0.
Really try to keep myself in my own little bubble.
Are there specific mechanisms that you use to try and stay in the bubble?
Staying inside the present moment. The last strategy is actually the most important one out of all of these, but this is actually a really fundamental and critical strategy here. I'm so excited to be able to touch on this, because here's where everything starts becoming interconnected, and here's where it starts to be able to get fun, and why embracing the pressure is such a fundamental aspect for elite golfers. Let's start with the foundational aspects of being inside the present moment, aka focus. The key aspect here when it comes to focus is being in the present moment. And this is actually fascinating, because for golf, it's totally different than every other single sport. Here's exhilarating part about it. So being inside the present moment is being focused. If the mind is focused on too much on the future, what happens is the mind is over there on the future, or too much on the past, the mind's over there on the past. It means it can't allocate 100% brain power to what's happening inside the present moment. You need that to be able to actually hit the shots you want to be able to hit. And here's where golf is different. Here's where it gets actually fascinating to look at different sports. Because for golf, it's different than every other sport. Because when it comes to focus in different sports, things are happening. The ball is moving left, the ball is moving right. Your brain has to articulate how fast is this ball is moving. What's the slope at this ball is moving? Is it moving high? Is it moving low? Where is this other person orientation to my body to where I got to move? How can I throw? How can I catch? How can I shoot? Everything is happening around your brain trying to figure out what's going on. So focus being in the present moment allows you to be able to tell your body what to be able to do accurately. Now, golf is different because golf is everything is still. The ball is still. So how focus impacts golf is just in a whole different enlightening way, and is equally as important, not a doubt. So since the ball is still, if the focus is on the future, kind of alluded that here's how everything's interconnected. So if a player has a confidence outcome, right? The confidence is based on outcome. And then so their thought process, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, the thought process is on the future. What happens is their focus is on the future, and how that messes you up. We already kind of talked about that. Then you hit it too hard, it goes into the bunker, it goes into the water, etc. Or you're thinking about like, oh my goodness, oh my gracious, my focus is on how the crowd's going to be reacting if I miss this shot. Like my focus is on what's going to be happening down here. And it doesn't allow you to be able to focus inside the present moment. And what could actually happen is when the middle of the golf swing is happening and the mind's like, hey, I need to be able to hit this here. And it's like, well, what if I hit it too far? What if I hit it too short? And then it makes a small, slight, subconscious, physical change in the swing. That's when the shank happens. Oh, are my feet in the right position? Then it makes a small, slight, mechanical, your eyes look down, and the body moves down. Now the swing is off. Well, where's the shot going to hit right here? Is it going to hit where I want it to be able to hit? That focus, you look up too early, the body moves up too early, mechanically the ball goes in a whole different area. That's how critical focus is when it comes to being able to actually hit the ball where you need to be able to hit the ball. The difference between a birdie, a par, double bogey, etc. Now, the other fundamental aspect that was only half of that is focusing on the past. Here's what gets really interesting. So if the focus is on the past, when we're talking about embracing the pressure here, everything is about embracing the pressure here. The focus is on the past. Now, and Rory could have thought about, and Rory thought about this too, actually. What do all these different people say? What do all these different people say? Like, am I going to choke at the Masters again? And is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? 11 years without X, Y, and Z. And for any player, really, like what happened the last hole? What happened the hole before that? What happened the day before that? If the focus is on before, here's how it can really impact the golf game on a physical manner. Let's say you're on hole 7. Yesterday, on hole 7, you should have hit it a bit harder, or a bit softer, etc. If the focus is on the past, that doesn't do you very well for golf. Ball is not in the same spot as it was yesterday. The wind is not the same as it was yesterday. The greens are moving faster or slower than they were yesterday. It's a completely different golf course. It's a completely different spot. So if the focus goes anywhere in the past, that can actually be very detrimental because now you're hitting it hard based on yesterday. So the different strategies, there's a lot of strategies that the different players talked about, that Scotty talked about, that Rory talked about, that Bryson talked about. And let's go through every single one of them, because every single one of them are very critical. The first one has to do with self-talk.
I have a few little notes written in the back of my yardage book that I, glance at every now and again while I'm walking the fairway, and just little reminders.
Caddies have one of the hardest jobs in golf.
Sometimes you're a psychologist, sometimes you got to build them up.
What you do, buddy?
I will tell myself, I'll speak to myself, when you believe something enough, it'll happen.
It's self-talk of say, hey, we need to stay inside the present moment. Hey, we need to be able to focus here, focus right now. Hey, Scotty, man, your hands do, like, get it done. That's the caddy. So caddy can be able to impact that too. They talked about the kind of like psychologists on the golf course, and other different aspects too. So, and even Rory, as he goes down to even go to different holes, him having a couple different sayings that keep him inside the present moment is extremely critical. And then another big one, and these two kind of go hand in hand, is self-control and self-discipline.
I'm not worried about what anybody else is doing. I'm just trying to control what I can control.
I can only control myself and my emotions.
Essentially feeding off of the patrons, and I just settle back in and I go, all right, this is the next shot. You got to execute. There's nothing else you can do besides play your absolute best.
Laser focused on my game today, and that's all I could do was my job.
So self-control is I can only control what I can control. So when it comes to being under pressure and having to focus under pressure is, look, I can't control the crowd. I can't control the wind after I hit the ball. I can't control necessarily how fast or slow the greens are. I can't control what my opponent is doing. The only thing I can control is my actual self. The only thing I can control is what I'm actually doing out there on the green. So that is really critical. Then also self-discipline. Again, Justin kind of talked about this. Like, what does it matter? What do all these different things matter? All that matters is how I actually execute.
Ultimately, there is no other way of doing it. It's just how good you are at doing that in the moment.
So that's really critical to be able to have that self-discipline. And again, it's that thought process and that self-talk. And the more you kind of train your brain to be able to think that way, the more the brain actually thinks that way. The more the brain actually able to block things out. And then Bryson talked about this too. He didn't go too in depth about it, but grounding he mentioned. And someone also asked him a question about visualization. And he actually ended up talking about it.
Meditation or breathing exercise, how are you getting into that mindset before and during the rounds?
Staying grounded. I think of myself as just being here in the present, staying in the moment, not thinking about the next hole, not thinking about the putt, not thinking about anything else. I'm just saying, hey, I'm right here, right now.
I'll talk about those here because they're two really key strategies of how to be able to stay inside the present moment. Now add in breathing in there too. So grounding is actually the ability to be able to physically bring your brain back into the present moment. And here's how it works. It's actually quite simple. Works really, really extremely well, especially when nerves happen. It's focusing on something physical that's happening inside the world. So it could be, I'm going to focus on this lamppost. I was talking to a coach who teaches baseball, and every time after the pitch, he would focus on a lamppost, and that would bring his brain back to, hey, this is present moment right now. So using anything to be able to ground you. You can look at a color, you can look at your golf club. If someone has like a little token, something in their pocket, if they touch that physical touch brings the brain back to the present moment. This is what I'm physically feeling right here, right now. It actually ends up translating into habits. So if small little divot, but this will actually really be helpful for focus. If someone had a habit before they hit every single shot, it's if you watch golfers, like what is their habit? What is their habit formation? Touching something, they might say something to themselves. That's to bring them back into the present moment, first of all. And they say, all right, let's focus right here, right now. And it brings them to whatever they need to focus on inside the moment. The last one actually has to do with visualization. It was asked, but no answer was given. Visualization is a good one. You can use visualization for a whole bunch of different things, but pro golfers can really utilize visualization in the sense of just practicing being in the moment, meditating. Practicing being in the moment, again, trains the brain to be in the moment. I talk about training the brain a lot, but people got to understand it's like the same way that you train a muscle, the same way that you train how to be able to hit a certain shot a certain way, the same way you would be able to train how to hit out of the sand is the same way that you would train your brain. You can't just think about it one day and it happens. It needs to be trained and ingrained to where the brain actually reformulates itself in neural pathways about, hey, this is how we're going to think about these different situations. So that's fascinating. And then the last one is all encompassing. The last one I think is actually the most important that veterans really take hold of. And I think it plays an extremely important role in their ability to be able to embrace the pressure around them. Now, the last one actually has to do with golf isn't everything.
My family, my team.
It only hit me literally as soon as I saw the people I love.
End of my career, that's a great opportunity though for me, not a pressure, to kind of freewheel and use it all as upside, yeah.
As an athlete, you never take time to reflect, and I've had time to reflect, and I'm so proud of myself. I don't think I've ever said that in my life, that I'm proud of myself.
People are gonna realize you're just a human, and you're gonna be fine.
I used to fight anger issues. I used to get too frustrated. Golf was too important to me. Well, that's kind of where I placed my identity for a long time.
When you experience stuff in life, when you're experiencing it with friends, it's always better.
Golf is not the end all be all. And why that's so important, how that connects to everything that we talked about already, is the fact that if someone bases their self-mattering and someone bases their whole being on being a golfer, that creates fundamental issues in the mental game, which then impacts the actual physical game. Because here we go again. If a golfer is going to make a shot, the golfer is going to take a shot. This shot dictates, if every shot ends up dictating between the 8th shot or the 50th shot, dictates who I am as an individual, that's a whole bunch of added pressure. That's a whole bunch of unnecessary added pressure, because then that brings them back to the focus aspect of things and back into the confidence aspect of things. Because if your thought process is, this defines me as a golfer, then your focus becomes what? On the future. If I miss this, what's the oohs and ahs going to be? How's my family going to look at me? How's my friends going to look at me? How are the golf world going to look at me? The past, the golf world has said this about me. The media has said that about me. Oh, I missed this shot before. Can I help this now? Like, if I don't do this, how am I defined as a person, as an individual? That brings so much different aspects to the focus. How can you focus if it's in the past, in the future? How can you focus on the present? And then when the confidence comes involved, now you're focused on your confidence is outcome confidence. Where am I going to line up on the leaderboard? Am I going to be first? Am I going to be second? Am I a choke artist? All these things, golf can't define your mattering.
If you treat it as so binary as winning is good and not winning is bad, it's a career of torture.
I would be a pretty miserable human being if I judged myself just on winning.
So all these different golfers, Gary, Bryson, Scotty, Rory, Justin, all of them have understood, and this is the strategy part here of values. When you actually have a set of values, then that actually defines you as an individual. And this does something very phenomenal when it comes to relaxing the body in terms of golf, is the value system of friends, family, loved ones, sons, daughters. As a human being, as an individual, gives you value.
It brings everything back to what's important.
You know, when I find myself in pressure situations now, it's like, can I rekindle that 17-year-old kid that had no expectation and no pressure on him?
I got a great life outside of the game of golf, and taking that perspective has definitely enlightened me a little bit and allowed me to play a little more free.
And what happens is this golf stroke right now does not define me as a person. Whatever happens from this golf stroke, I'm still going to be a human being. Just saying that out loud brings a certain relaxation to the soul. If you just took a minute to say, like, you know what, here's my values, and that's what defines me as a person, not this golf swing. Just find how relaxed you become. That's how relaxed they become. And they talk about it, brings a sense of freeness to it. And then that clears up your mind. So your focus then can just become what's happening inside the present, right here, right now. Then your confidence becomes the process. Then your thought process, when it comes back to talking about the cognitive behavioral strategies, is like, man, I got this, baby. Here we go. Your feeling becomes calm. Your behavior becomes the best that it can be to be able to get the ball inside the hole. Now, there's an actual bonus strategy here, which is actually phenomenal, and I only wanted to bring it up because it came up yesterday at the end of the Masters, and it has to do with this. This is also very much connected to, golfers and everything, and it actually ends up teaching people how to be able to become better golfers. It's failure.
There's a lot to take away from this week, a lot to learn, a lot to be proud of, a lot to be pissed about. I've learned a lot, and I'm ready to take the challenge on again. Got to get better.
Moments there that you look back on and you go, okay, made the wrong mistake there and the wrong mistake there at the wrong time.
It's failure. It was so perfectly spot on in line with the research on how to be able to handle and learn from failure, because it's two different things. At the foundational level, to be able to handle failure, you need to be able to have self-esteem. If you have a set of values, if you understand golf doesn't define you as an individual, then you actually have a foundational level of self-mattering and a foundational level of self-esteem. If you have those things, what happens is your body and your brain actually then is able to handle failure. It doesn't become an ego hit. When it comes to an ego hit, your brain fuzzes it out. When it's not an ego hit, then your brain says, hey, this is actually what happened. You can see it with all the elite golfers. Tell me what happened on hole 11. Oh, I hit with this. I hit like this. My goal was this. My whole goal was this. And that was like 4 hours ago. And they were able to specifically define what happened and specifically what went wrong in these different instances. My club face was up. Like this happened. I moved this with my body, and this is exactly what happened. Doing that allows you to then be able to then learn from failure. The easiest way people learn from failure is either A, learning from people's successes, learning from their own successes, or learning from other individuals' mistakes. The hard part is learning from your own mistakes. So that foundation of having the self-mattering not only helps with focus and confidence, but actually helps you be able to handle failures and then learn from failures and then go out the next time and be like, hey, here's what I need to work on, and I'll be back, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be exciting. So this is all the different aspects of golf to be able to handle the pressure that happens on the golf course that actually then separates the elite pro golfers from not. It's an amazing thing to be able to psychoanalyze everything and realize that it is applicable to every single sport. Every single sport itself is applicable to, and how golf is applicable to, is just slightly different, but really fascinating. So I hope you all learned something. I hope you all gained some value out of it. I hope you all gained some really educational information out of it. And I'll see you for next time I psychoanalyze a sport. Think about either doing Formula One next or Olympic basketball. Peace.